Welcome to How to Let Go of a Narcissist, where we explore healing journeys and tools to help survivors of narcissistic abuse reclaim their power. I'm your host, Marv Curtis, and today I'm honored to welcome Vali. She's here to share some insights from her experience that might help you on your path. Welcome, Vali. How are you? Great for us to have you here. Would you share a little bit about yourself and what led you to this point in your healing journey?
I was with the narcissist for a long time. The abuse got bad in 2020 as when it all started. The mask fell off. It was physical, mental, emotional, and psychological abuse. Lots of name calling, physical violence. In my county, he's being charged. The DA is going after him for continuous violence against the family. There's been several physical abuse situations, and I finally realized he was never going to change and worked on breaking that trauma bond. Now, every day, my goal is just to be better than I was yesterday.
Nice. Going back in time, have you had other experiences with narcissism before this one?
Yeah, because I am an empath, I tend to get drawn towards that personality. Because I'm very aware of it now, I've been working on setting boundaries and paying attention to those red flags and not
Part?
ignoring them.
Yeah. So for people who may not know, could you describe what you mean by I'm an empath and you are drawn to this kind of personality?
Yeah. So I actually am a diagnosed empath. I've been in counseling for a long time over it. Usually, if you have childhood trauma, you either turn into an empath, meaning you don't want anyone else to ever feel what you did. You kind of become a people pleaser. You're not good with boundaries, but you can feel what other people are feeling. Or you become a narcissist, which is the opposite. You shut down. But it's basically the exact opposite thing. You're very forgiving. They know that you'll have hardly any boundaries if you do. So it's very important as an empath to set those boundaries. And that you have my book coming out, Life of an Empath, to help other empaths set those boundaries, pay attention to those red flags, and know it's okay. You can set those firm boundaries. And if someone doesn't like it, then that's on them and not you. So and paying attention to those red flags, that's very, very, very important. I didn't miss them. I kept hoping for the best and thinking that person's going to be better and that they're going to grow and change and be a better human. I was naive because, as an empath, we want to see the best in people and
Sure.
hoping that they're going to change. And it's really paying attention to those red flags, setting boundaries, and then, just knowing it's okay. You don't have to, everyone has to like you.
Sometimes that's hard, isn't it?
It's very hard, especially when you can feel what they're feeling and you want to be there for them.
Right. Well, so you were with him, you stayed with him, you validated and justified him. What was the specific moment or realization that finally made you say, he's not going to change, I got to go?
God intervened. Literally.
Tell us more.
The abuse was happening all over again, the name calling. He was very good at calling me names. My son, we fought that whole weekend and something told him, we got to get our son to youth group. And then we fought and things got really, really bad that night. And the youth director said, no, you need to go to the police. This is enough. He's been arrested in 2022. Cops were called in 2020. I had severe physical damage. I had a remote control thrown at me. I had a huge imprint on my thigh in 2020. I've been in the hospital from injuries. I have a long list. The DA has all of that. I finally got the strength to actually press charges. And so that's why the DA is going after him for continuous violence against the family. It's no longer going to be, okay, well, maybe he'll change. Maybe he'll be better. Literally, God intervened and said, look, Vali, I've given you all these warning signs. I've tried to get you to stay away from him. I kept going back thinking he's going to be better. And he's like, hey, you're not listening. So here you go. January 12th, cops were called. He got arrested in February. And now they're going after him for continuous violence against the family. God literally said, here you go. You're not listening. I'm just going to make you do it. I've been no contact now for almost 2 months, and it's been great. It's breaking that trauma bond. I was right where I was a year ago, and now I'm actually staying away and not going back. So I want to help other people break that trauma bond as quickly as you can and realize that even though you have good intent, like you want them to be better, narcissists or even people with narcissistic personality disorder, they're never going to change. Just breaking that trauma bond as soon as you can and realizing that it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. God literally had to intervene for me to stop it. I'm still healing. Every day is better, but it's a process. I've learned I need to have grace on myself. As long as every day is a little better than the last, it's huge progress. Now it's going to be a huge court battle. I'm not backing down. I've got a huge support system. You have to have grace in yourself and try to break that trauma bond as quickly as possible and realize they're not going to change. They're going to do it's an abusive cycle, and they're going to love bomb you, and the cycle is going to continue to repeat until you break free of that cycle. And the sooner people realize that it's a vicious, horrible cycle, the sooner you can actually start healing and move on with your life.
So it sounds like the turning point was when you finally said, he's not going to change. Is that the turning point, realizing that? And you've been resisting that. It's probably been in the back of your mind. Is he going to change? I can love him enough. I can make him change. And was it something he did to you, or you just felt God's presence?
It was the constant continuing to be name called, continuing to feel uneased, continuing to be in fight or flight mode, having grace for him instead of having grace for myself. And then, God finally said, nope, enough. I'm intervening now. You're going to probably end up dead if you stay. And it was when I knew that I said to him, I said, if you do not leave, I'm calling the police. I knew then it was over. There was no going back.
So calling the police kind of put the nail in the coffin.
Well, police were called before. Police were called in 2022. Police were called in 2020. Again, I kept hoping things would be better because I did love him. I did care for him greatly. It was one of those things where I kept thinking things were going to get better. I've been in counseling for over 3 years trying to heal from all this. And he continues to say, yeah, well, how's that counseling working for you? You're still having issues. And I'm realizing, no, my issues actually, it's like night and day. My issues are going away when I left, trying to heal and reprogram my brain and deal with all that because I was in fight or flight mode. It was scary. I've got security systems. Luckily, if he even comes into my city, he gets arrested. I live in a very good town where they have that on him. I do have a protection order now. I wish I would have stayed no contact a year ago. I thought having him in his life was going to be the best for my kid, and that was a mistake. If I would have known sooner, there's no way that he's going to change. It's the love bombing. It's that cycle. I should have stayed away a year ago. I would have been so much better off than I am now. I had to basically start over healing and reprogram my brain. Being in fight or flight mode is not fun. Every time I see a vehicle that looks just like his, my heart sinks. They don't change. I cannot tell that enough to people. They do not change. The sooner you can get out. I know people want to have hope. I know that's one of the main reasons people stay, but they're not going to change. They don't care. When someone tells you they do not care, because mine would tell me all the time, I don't care. I don't care. When they are saying that, they mean it. Listen.
That's the one thing they're not lying about.
Yep. They've lied about a lot of things. But if someone says they don't care, run. Get out.
So obviously, you have a tremendous sense of relief since you left a couple of months ago. What's one tool or strategy since you left that's made the biggest difference in your ongoing recovery?
Having grace in myself.
Now, you're going to have to describe that. That probably means different to everybody.
It means your life's not going to be perfect. You're healing. It's okay if you take longer to heal. Sometimes my energy hasn't been the best. Sometimes I'm not sleeping. But as long as my energy's a little bit better the next day, or I'm smiling a little more than I did yesterday, it's just knowing that it's going to be okay. And if your life isn't completely figured out right now, it's okay. It's okay to kind of just take it day by day. You don't have to have everything figured out the next day. We're so used to having the high cortisol levels in our brain and having to try to please that other person. If you don't have life figured out, it's okay.
So for many empaths, perfectionism is one of the traits. And what you're saying is you don't have to be perfect. Is that right?
Well, I don't know if a lot of empaths, because being perfection is something that's something I've never had. I do want to strive and be a good person and do my best, be a hard worker. Glass is always half full, not half empty.
Mhm.
and try to look at the good things in life, especially when you've been with an abuser. You're like, am I enough? Am I good enough?
Mhm.
It's okay to think that you're not good enough, but know that you are. It's okay to have those feelings because that's not you talking. That is months or years of conditioning to think that
Mhm.
you're not good enough.
Did you ever feel that you had absorbed some of his negative energy and you were experiencing your life through his energy?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I started to mirror him and it doesn't feel good. It That negativity, unfortunately, it's contagious. So is positivity, right? When you're around negativity and your self-worth is low and you're crying night after night, it takes toll on you mentally, emotionally, physically. I wasn't sleeping. And then your body learns it's okay to not sleep. When I really got out, actually 2 years ago, I moved my kid and I to a different state for safety reasons 2 years ago. When my son saw me get hit in the mouth by him as I was driving, that's when I knew I have to go to a completely different state and get away. And then I finally moved back. That negativity takes a toll. You mirror them almost. And then I was questioning myself. Am I a narcissist? Maybe I was the issue. I would talk to my friends about it. They all said the same thing. The fact that you are questioning if you're the narcissist and wanting to be better and to grow and you're in counseling and doing the work to be better, you're not the narcissist. I had people that told me, look, when you're with him, you're off. You're usually super happy and you're energized. I'm a trainer. I'm a personal trainer for a living. That's what I do. I have a lot of energy normally. And when I was around him, my energy and my smile just wasn't there. And my
No,
friends, my family, everybody could pick up on it.
they could notice. Let's look at the past and then let's look at the future. If you could go back into the past and give yourself one piece of advice, looking at the beginning of all of this, what's the one thing you would tell yourself if you could?
In 2020, when I told his mom that I wanted to call the police and I wanted to press charges when I had that remote control on my thigh, I should have done it.
Should
I
have done it.
I should have, and then I should have ran because I lost who I was.
So you had a prompting or an instinct,
Yeah,
a red flag,
big
and
time.
you didn't follow it. Was that because he was love bombing you again and talked you out of it?
Yeah, it was well, and it was when 2020 hit,
Yeah.
COVID, and I originally was thinking, wow, we hadn't really had this kind of a blow up before to this extreme. I didn't know at the time if 2020 was just a one-time thing. But
Yeah.
then in 2022, when it happened again and police were called and he did get arrested, I absolutely should have stayed away.
Okay. So let's look to the future. There will be people watching this video and paying very close attention. And if you could give them a message, what would you tell them? Someone who's struggling now, a little bit earlier in the process than you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen to your gut. Listen to their actions, their words. Pay attention when they say they don't care. Listen. They're not going to change. If I can save someone 5 years of heartache that I went through, they're not going to change. They don't know how to change and they don't care to change. A lot of them are surrounded by enablers. Mine absolutely was. Look at who they're surrounded with, right? If I had done something that my ex did to me, my support system would have been like, we're not going to condone that kind of behavior.
Mhm.
And look at someone that has a lot of enablers because he had a mom and a stepmom that I'm sure knew, well, the mom definitely knew what was going on and enabled him. If you have someone that's like that, pay attention to the red flag. The cycle is not going to end. It's literally pay attention, look up the trauma bond cycle, pay attention to it and run. They're not going to change. Save your
Those,
heartache. They're just not.
those,
I know it's hard to leave, but I promise leaving sooner than later is going to be much better for your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, your psychological health. Um, it's going to be so much better. Leave as soon as you can.
yeah, those enablers are hoping that you will do what they were unable to do and fix this person. So, Valley, you've got a book that you've written, and this is a great time for you to promote it. Tell us all about it and how to find it.
So, it's just being finished. It's going to be out. Amazon's going to pick it up. Barnes and Noble's picking it up. It's called Life of an Empath. It's got chapters, talks about my history and why I became an empath and how empaths and narcissists are born. And then it talks about setting boundaries. It talks about what the silent treatment is. It talks about the gray rock theory. It talks about red flags. It has all of these resources to help people not make the same mistakes that I did. And I'm going to be honest, it's kind of a tough read. It does talk about my certain circumstances. I have one situation where my grandpa passed away. I needed to go to his funeral, and my ex and I got on a plane together. He started the fight. I had brought up a feeling on an issue, and he turned it against me, gave me the silent treatment, then left me at the airport and took a flight back home, and then didn't go to the funeral with me. So there are situations like that, and the silent treatment and how damaging all of that can be. But then there's also going to be, I have a lot of resources in there too. People that I've talked to, counselors that can help. There's lawyer information. At the very end of my book, there's going to be tons of resources. It talks about what a trauma bond is, the cycle, and how important it is to get out as soon as you can. Paying attention to those red flags. Because looking back, my ex actually was married for 3 years while we were dating. We weren't exclusive at the time, but I had no idea he was actually married. When I found out he was married, and I did feel bad for his ex because I didn't know he was married. And when I found out he was married, we quit talking. And I should have stayed away. Pay attention to those red flags. The red flags, what a trauma bond is, the silent treatment. It gives you resources like the gray rock. If you do have to co-parent with someone, it does give you resources. All my counselors that I've talked with, your information is going to be in there. Any information also that, because I've been in this for a long time, I'm trying to help people get as much resources as they can so they don't make the same mistakes that I did. And so it's a resourceful book. Like I said, it is kind of a hard read. It takes time to read on that. So if you're still going through dark places, maybe skip the first 2 chapters as to how I became an empath, but then start picking it up where chapter 3 is setting boundaries, or pay attention to the red flags. Don't read the first 2 chapters of how I'm an empath. It's to help other empaths or even people that are in a narcissistic relationship or marriage get out of it and not be stuck as long as I was. I want to help other people. So I am a religious person, but I believe that God put me in my dark places so that I can make a difference in other people's lives. And so that's what I want to do. My book is going to be available here in about 3 months. I'm finishing it up right now, and I'm finishing my last chapter now where it's a bunch of resources. It gives lawyer information, what to expect for court systems based on if you do need to press charges, who to contact for counselors, what type of counselors to look for, different groups. The last chapter is about all these resources that I didn't have, and I had to find them myself. So they will be available for someone, so they don't have to do as much research trying to heal themselves as I did.
So the title again is
Life of an Empath.
And you as the author, what name are you going under?
It's Life of an Empath by Valianne Young.
Perfect. Well, wonderful. So thank you all for listening. And Valley, thank you for your honest efforts and sharing them with us. And for audience, if this episode resonated with you in any way, or you have a story that you'd like to share, check me out at marvcurtiscoaching.com. Happy to help you, give you a free consultation and help you on your way. Thanks again, Valley.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Bye-bye. Thank you.